Well, today the fight is now over in Aleppo, Syria's second largest city.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we live in extraordinary times. We all know the crises we are facing. We are confronted with them every day. The war in Syria, the unprecedented numbers of people on the move, the terrible spectre of climate change.
The evacuation was arranged under a ceasefire deal brokered by Turkey and Russia this week to allow rebels to withdraw from the last remaining sliver of East Aleppo under their control.
Let's start with your second question. So, international organizations on the ground. Tell me which ones are on the ground in eastern Aleppo. Yeah, okay, I'll tell you, there are none. There are none. These organizations are relying on the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. They're relying on compromised groups like the White Helmets, which, let's talk about the White Helmets. The White Helmets were founded in 2013 by a British ex-military officer. They have been funded to the tune of $100 million by the US, UK, and Europe and other states. They purport to be rescuing civilians in eastern Aleppo and Idlib, yet no one in eastern Aleppo has heard of them. And I say no one, bearing in mind that now 95% of these areas of eastern Aleppo are liberated. The White Helmets purport to be neutral, yet they can be found carrying guns and standing on the dead bodies of Syrian soldiers. And their video footage actually contains children that have been recycled in different reports. So you can find a girl named Aya who turns up in a report in month, say, August, and she turns up in the next month in 2 different locations. So they are not credible. The SOHR is not credible. Unnamed activists are not credible. Once or twice, maybe, but every time, not credible. So your sources on the ground, you don't have them.
The world has changed rapidly, and governments and international organizations are struggling to adapt.
You know, this time of year, the safest phrase for many people is simply to say happy holidays. But a recent article from Texas Woman's University says even using the term holiday can be, risque for some and, not inclusive enough.
One college wants to do away with another common phrase, holiday party. As first reported in Campus Reform, Texas Women's University seems to believe that holiday is no longer inclusive, preferring the term end-of-semester parties instead.
As word of this got out, as you might imagine, it started to raise a few eyebrows, even among college students. I mean, if you can't say happy holidays, what can you say?
God bless us, everyone.
It is the famous line from Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, but is it also the line that got an elementary school play canceled?
That's what a lot of parents are saying after reports 2 parents complained about the line.
God bless us, everyone.
It's the famous line from A Christmas Carol, the Charles Dickens holiday classic. It's also a tradition here at Centerville Elementary to hear it performed by 5th graders each December. Until this year. This year's play canceled after 40-some years.
I was very surprised because it's been going on for decades.
One Central Indiana town took down the cross that typically sits at the top of their Christmas tree in the downtown area.
An active federal lawsuit led the town to take the cross off of their Christmas tree. So now crosses are appearing in businesses, neighborhoods, and places they've never been seen.
That's because a lot of them say this tree has lit up the square here in Knightstown for as long as they can remember, but the cross at the top might not be here much longer.
It's just hard to believe that this is going on.
A Florida restaurant is serving up some holiday cheer by playing Christmas music for their patrons. But not all the customers are loving it down in Florida. One patron left this note on the back of the receipt, writing, quote, "Christmas music was offensive. Consider playing holiday music or less religious themed." The owner posted the note online, and it is now going viral. you. What was your first reaction?
It was a little, crazy because you start thinking, God, now Christmas, everyone's a critic about everything you do in the restaurant business, so we understand that, and it comes in with the territory. But, the poor staff, anytime they get any notes in the back, they kind of always take it to heart. So they brought it to me, and when I look at it, just the first thing I say is, man, I know that we're going to be criticized about, something service-related, food-related or something, but now the Christmas music, so. To us, it's part of the traditions that I think keep on getting washed away in America.
Scientists may have found a way to turn back time.
What we discovered is that we can change the program of a cell in an animal, and we can convert an old program into a young program.
Okay, not real time, but using a new technique that takes adult cells back to their embryonic form, researchers with the Salk Institute for Biological Studies say they've reversed signs of aging in cells.
And so we are in this age where all kinds of science are becoming informationalized, and they're on this exponential J-curve. And what it means is that our sense of timing, of how long innovation takes for us as a species, is going to change. Because right now our brains are designed for linear thinking. If you're living on the savannah and you have exponential thinking, if you're thinking 10 generations ahead and you're not thinking about the tiger that's coming to get you, you're in trouble. And that's why our brains are designed for linear thinking. But right now, this pace of innovation is going to increasingly get faster and faster. So when we think of maybe 1 unit of change is 2006 to 2016, it could be that 2016 to 2026 may be 3 times that, 3x. And 2026 to 2036 could be 10x and then 50x. So the speed of innovation is going to increasingly expand.
So did you know that every day over 100,000 people die of aging? That's a lot. That's 3 million a month. It's the biggest catastrophe, that's the biggest epidemic on the globe. But it's not until recently that we've actually had the bandwidth to realize that, in fact, this is something really encumbering the human race. We've had our hands full. As a matter of fact, just a couple hundred years ago, we didn't predominantly die of aging at all. We died of infectious disease. Humans naturally die of infectious disease. We don't die of old age. Very few, like 1 to 3% of people used to die of old age. There were no names for those diseases. So, a cure for aging, that sounds really science fiction-y, but it's really science fact.
And therefore, our thinking, how we think about the world and how we understand the world, and the things that are fixed and the things that are unfixed are going to change. They're going to be brought into these challenges to the way that we think.
We're looking at workforces to start to go to Mars. It seems a long ways off, but it'll be here before you know it. I'd like to talk about the overpopulation issue because in 1960, the Club of Rome got together and they decided that by the year 2000 we'd actually be eating each other, okay? This didn't happen, and as a matter of fact, we're coming into more abundance with technology as it comes. But they created a catastrophe scenario for the human race, but they were something that they overlooked, and actually none of us could see it, and now we do. We see it actually very clearly. It doesn't matter where on the earth a population or culture is. It doesn't matter if they're in the middle of a jungle and you'll never meet them, or they're your next door neighbor. As lifespan increases, birth rates go down everywhere on the earth.
And so we're at this phase in our evolution as a species where we have a question. And the question is our mortality fixed? Is our biology fixed? Or are we hackable? And is mortality in one way or another, or in pieces along the way, overcomable?
As a matter of fact, almost every big industrial revolution did not just happen by human ingenuity, it actually happened by lifespan. Did you know that? As we increased our lifespan, we went into the first big industrial revolutions. It changed everything. So take that into consideration, and hopefully we'll create a better world.
And so we and others are growing stem cells from women's ovaries and mouse ovaries. And we can isolate these, we grow them in the lab, we can genetically modify them. And we have the technology, if we really wanted to, though we're not going to either modify or screen these cells for different traits or remove diseases like Huntington's and breast cancer. That's all in the future. One of the other things that's interesting, though, is that the same molecules that we're talking about tonight that reverse aging in adults also seem to work effectively on the reproductive system. And we have some early results that we haven't yet published, but between friends I'll tell you now. We can take an old mouse, the equivalent of a 70, 80-year-old human, female, and make that mouse fertile again and reverse what we call mousopause.
Yeah.
Now, think about what that'll be like in a society where you can put off having kids till after you've established your career and your marriage, and but that's the world where we're headed. And getting into questions about selecting embryos for this and that, I'm not really into that part of it.
Well, football coach Eddie Metcalf is facing criticism for simply taking a knee and bowing his head, even though he didn't recite a prayer, and the school has warned that he'll be disciplined if it happens again. But he says he's being unfairly singled out.